Hello and welcome back to BA Publisher Basics and Beyond. In this lab, we will look at how do we extract data using RDF. So here in this lab, we will do a simple RDF based extraction. So our objective is to extract the data using the RDF and how do we tie it to XML Publisher or BA Publisher. So before we start, as always, the files are available for download under this video. It will be in a zip file with the name BIP002-001.zip. You would see all these files associated to this chapter under the location. So let's look back at our key terms. So we have the concurrent request that is tied to an RDF or a PL SQL or a Java concurrent program that would extract the data from the Oracle. Your concurrent program short name is tied to the data definition, which data definition is will tie to the template. And once the data is extracted, the output post processor would merge the XML output generated from the concurrent request and with the template accordingly. So in a report generation process, you will have multiple layers. First layer is the data layer, which will be the first part is the data extraction, then data formatting, then you have delivery to different components. So here in this chapter, we will focus on data extraction. So data extraction, which starts with basically starts with the requirements. What fields are need, what fields need to be pulled in, and how does the report layout should be. So that'll be the first part to start with. So there are different methods of extraction of data. We are going to focus on the RDF based. There is a PL SQL based, XML generation based, and there is a data template. We will go through all these different methods. So RDF is simple, but it has a lot of features like triggers, a lot of formatting. You can turn off and on a XML tag. There are quite a few features which are beneficial. So if I order it in the if I have to order the data extraction methods, I would go with number 1 for RDF, number 2 for data template. Data template is very similar to RDF, but it doesn't take that heavy loads of the RDF, but it's pretty flexible and very easy. Once we do a few examples, you would know. So we're going to focus on RDF based extraction. So in this chapter, we are going to focus. What we're going to do in this chapter, we're going to do a lab, and the lab will take you through the process of creating the RDF based report. So if you look at within there is a file that's attached. If you download the zip file that's attached, you would see a file called CHAP001 lab XLS. So that'll have step by step. It'll be 2 tabs, step 1 and step 2. If you go through the step 1, you'd have step by step instruction of how do we create a RDF report, and step 2 would show you how do you register the template. Let me quickly show that. So here is the sample Excel file, or here's this Excel file that can be used for conducting this lab. You can go through step-by-step instructions. Step 2 will have the how do you define a concurrent program and all those good stuff in there. So let's take through the step 1. The first thing would be you will have to open a report builder. So you'll choose the build a report manually. Then you would follow so we'll go through these. There's a step-by-step instruction on how do you do that. So I will take you through this in the screenshots coming. So the first part is to open your report builder. So I'm assuming that you have already downloaded the Forms 10G version of the report builder. So you can download it from Oracle. uh, so once you click on the report builder, it's going to open and it's going to prompt you to build a new report. It'll prompt you this welcome screen. You would It's easy to make sure you always check this display at startup, and I'm going to pick the build the report manually. So once you see this report, you just right click on the module one and right click and say property inspector. You would enter the name. If you scroll down, you would see the XML Prologue. So you'd see that it's the XML Prologue value. Change it to XML version 1. Now you click on when you click. So now we have renamed renamed the program. Now you add the user parameters. You click on user parameters. Use the click plus button 4 times. So it's going to create P1, P2, P3, P4. You can right click on each P1, P3, P1, P2, P3 and look at the property inspector, and you can rename them and change the size and all those stuff, data type and everything. So once the parameters are renamed, because the names are important, these names would be then tied to the concurrent program definition. Once the parameters are complete, at this point it's a good idea to save it. So you can save it as the file name as XX and this concurrent program details. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to get the concurrent program details, and one program, which responsibility is tied, how many responsibilities a program is tied. That's basically this report is about. So save it. So when you save it, you make sure you select the type as RDF reports binary. So right click. Now we have to add a query. So right click on the data model and select report editor. So you would see a screen something like this. So if you don't see a palette screen here, what you will do is you could go to, if you see something like this without a palette screen, you go to view, which is here, and toolbar, check toolbar. So now you click on the SQL and click it. You click on the SQL and you click it inside. You have to click here, then you click inside. So it'll bring that SQL window. So it'll bring you the SQL window. Enter your SQL. So there is this. So we have. If you look at this, if you look at the sample file that's provided, it has a SQL code in a text file. So you can open it and you can just copy and paste the SQL file. So when you click OK, at this point, it's going to prompt you for a database connection. I'm assuming that you have maybe a test environment to play with. So it's good to enter it in this format: apps, then followed by password at host, port, and database name. So in here, apps dev2 my ERPbox.net slash DBA name. So once you connect, you right click on the. So now at this time you're connected to the database. You can right click on the name, which is going to be Q1. You can rename it to. You can right click and click on properties, and you can rename it to get CP details. You can click on the property inspector. So at this point, we have to add triggers. So you can go back to the main form. You can expand the report triggers. You can right click on the before report trigger. You can edit the PL SQL. You can just copy and paste this code in there. So there is a template. So what we are trying to do is we're building a concurrent you know a dynamic condition. So if this parameter is not null, then L parameter is equal to the SQL statement. You can edit the query. So I'm going to replace the last line, and I'm going to comment that one out, and I'm going to put ampersand, LCP name. So LCP name is the variable that we used. So at this point, we just have to save, go to program, compile all, compile the code. Once the code is compiled, you would see that our code is compiled. Now we have to migrate the code to the server. So so make sure. So at this point, you have to you for in the example that I'm doing, I'm migrating it to the receivables receivables top. If you have any custom tops, you need to make sure you put it to the appropriate top. Um, so in my example, I'm passing it to the I'm moving the RDF to the right responsibility. So normally it's under the application tab, followed by uh, application tab reports, then followed by /us. So in my case, I'm putting it under the receivables tab. So I'm going to create. So once the report is now migrated over to the Unix box, you have to define the concurrent program executable. The short name and the executable file name doesn't have to match, but the executable file name has to match the file that you have migrated over. And make sure your file is in everybody can execute. So I've changed I've changed it from changed it to 777, and you select the execution method as report. And I'm just want to emphasize that the application that you've selected. So in my example, this is receivables. So I have migrated this over to the receivables manager responsibility. So the file location that I have is artop reports/us, so which is tied to this application. And if you notice, the name of the executable has to match the name in the name of the file without the RDF, and make sure you select the executable method as Oracle reports. So I'm just going to show you the file path. So once the executable is defined, now we have to register the concurrent program. So make sure your application short name. Um, it's not necessary to match the application short name to the executable name, but it's a good idea to keep them similar. Then you have if receivable, make sure your application is receivable, which is same as the concurrent program executable, even though it's not that critical, but it's very important. You pick the name that you have registered, which is this executable name. Make sure your output format is XML. So many times I get questions that how do we convert existing report? So in order to convert existing report to be a publisher, all you have to do is come and click this tab here and select XML. Then you click on parameters. So these parameters, when you define an executable as Oracle reports, you would see these tokens. So these tokens would basically tie back to if you look at the parameters that we have defined, the the name of the parameter has to exactly match the token name. So in CP name and CP name. So we have two parameters here, program name and executable method. So once you define the programs, you save it. The next step is to define the data template. So now we have created the extraction method. Next is to tie the extraction method to a data template. So you go to XML Publisher. You click on data definition. You click on create data definition. Enter the name. The code, this code here, has to exactly match the name of the short name. These two are very critical. The short name has to exactly match the code for the data definition. The application has to match to the application that you have defined. These two are very critical. Then you click apply. So now we have to register. Now we have to add the concurrent program to the request group. So I'm using the XML publisher request set. If you have, because it's easy for me, because there isn't much labs of much things I'm doing it there. So I'm going to I'm just going to go to this request set and add the program that we've created. So now we will add the concurrent program to the request set. Once you do that, you switch to that responsibility and run the program. So you're going to view submit request. Can you pass this parameter and these parameters? Click OK, and you run the report. You will get an output something like this. So in this exercise, we have built an XML. We have built an RDF file, and we have converted it into XML, and we tied it to a data template. Just want to go through the Excel sheet one more time. So if you look at Excel sheet, it has all the steps that are needed to build this report. So you can see if it'll tell you which responsibility it'll go to. It basically gives you a lot of SQLs and everything to run the report. So this concludes this lab. So in this chapter, we have built a sample RDF report. So in the next chapter, we will look at more advanced techniques. So again, if I'm sure once you do this lab, you may stuck at some place. Please use there's a contact me button at the along with the chapter, along with in the same website. You can use that to reach me, and I'll try to answer it as early as possible. Thank you, and I will look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, bye.